Good morning. Let's go ahead and do lesson 19. All right, so remember we've been talking about adverbs. An adverb is a word that describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. And they answer the questions, or they tell how something's done, when, where, and how often it's done. Okay. Now in this lesson, those are what we've been talking about. But in this lesson, we're going to see how adverbs describe adjectives and other adverbs too, because the last two lessons we just saw how adverbs modify or describe verbs. Well, now we're going to look at them a little bit deeper. And these adverbs don't tell how, when, where, or how often. They tell us to what extent. All right, so let's look at exercise 1. So what I want you to do is I want you to read. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Yes, okay. You read this out loud, then I'm going to ask you a question, and then you answer it out loud, okay? Okay. How do you sigh? Wearily, right? Okay, so wearily is an adverb that tells how you sigh, correct? Okay, let's look at this one. Read this out loud. Okay, when do you sigh? Again. So again is an adverb that tells when you sigh. Okay, read this one out loud. Okay, where do you sigh? Anywhere. So anywhere is an adverb that tells where you sigh. Read this one. Okay, how often do you sigh? Frequently. So frequently is an adverb that tells how often you sigh. All right, so remember, up until now, up into this lesson, we focused on adverbs that describe verbs. They tell how, when, where, and how often. But adverbs describe more than just verbs. They also describe adjectives and other adverbs too. So the new adverbs that don't tell how, when, where, how often, okay, they tell to what extent. Okay, so although there's a lot of adverbs like these, we're just going to be focusing on about 8 extremely common adverbs. Okay, in fact, extremely is one of those. So let's look at exercise 2. This to means it's an adverb, and it means too much or also. Okay, T-O-O, too much or also. Okay, so like I love you too, you would use this because it means also. Okay, or how about that's too many potatoes. That means too much, so you'd use this kind of too. So this is an adverb. Very, really, quite, so, extremely, rather, and slightly. Now, these adverbs here can describe adjectives, okay? Like take the adjective timid. Let's look right here. Think of the adjective timid. That means like, shy. All right. We're going to read this and then you'll see why these words I just told you are adverbs. Too timid, very timid, really timid, quite timid, so timid, extremely timid, rather timid, slightly timid. Okay, all these adverbs tell to what extent a person is timid. She is timid. To what extent is she timid? She's too timid, or she's very timid, or she's really timid, or quite timid, or so timid, or extremely timid, or rather timid, or slightly timid. All right, let's look at exercise 4. Extremely chubby bulldogs drool. Okay, now watch how we do this. Drool is the verb. Always find the verb first. Then to find the subject, you say who or what drools. Bulldogs. All right, now chubby is an adjective that tells which bulldogs, what kind of bulldogs? Chubby. Okay. Extremely then is an adverb that tells to what extent are the bulldogs chubby. So it comes on an arm right under the adjective that it describes. Okay? All right. Let's look then on exercise 5. Rather dark clouds gathered. Verb, is gathered. Okay. When you write this on your paper, make sure you, when we're diagramming, make sure you always write this long horizontal line first, and then you come back right in the center and you put the vertical line. Make sure you always do that first. Okay. And then the rest of the lines you'll add as you go. Okay. Now, since our sentences are beginning to get a little longer, it might be easier to start labeling the sentences. When my kids were little, I would always make them label the sentence before they diagrammed it. It made it a lot easier when the sentences became longer. So gathered is our verb. Okay. Of course, we always underline a verb twice. We just know that. Okay. Who or what gathered? Clouds. Okay. So we know this is the subject. You can label it. That's the subject. That's the action verb. Now, dark is a word that describes clouds, tells which clouds, the dark clouds. So that means this is an adjective, right? Okay. Now, rather is a word that tells to what extent are they dark. So this makes it an adverb. And a lot of times those to what extent adverbs are really kind of hard to find because a lot of people label those as adjectives, but they're not. So gathered will go here. Clouds goes here. Dark is an adjective that describes nouns, so it goes here. And since rather is an adverb describing dark, it goes on an arm right off of the word that it's modifying. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. All right. So I think you've got, I probably need to erase this. If I don't, it'll print it out if I ever print it. Okay. So you've got 2, 3, 4. You got 3 more to do. And you try and diagram those. And notice that what we're doing is we're using adverbs that describe adjectives. Okay? All right. So go ahead and finish those, and then we will check those in a day or two when we check your school. Let me know if you need any help.